live. Bill's having some internet problems. I'll see if I can bring him on here. Bill?
I'm here.
All right. Hey, that's awesome. All right. So I just started. I just said we're live on the Wednesday at 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. on the West. Welcome Adventures. I'm your guide, Sean McZoo, and this is the Reptile Show reporter. As usual, Bill Strand, the headmaster of the Chameleon Academy, is here. Tonight we are talking reptile shows, what we like, what we don't like. So now buckle up. It's time to start this adventure. On with the video. All right, we're back from the video. It's time to grab the chat. All right, who do we got? Inspector Gadget's here. Let's see. Wait, there's a debate. I don't know if there's a debate. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. I made it. Let's see who else is here. Mikey Bennett's here, and Zev Green Reptiles is here.
That's Chris.
And James Cross, who said he got off work early to be here, and I wasn't going to be here on time, so I'm glad we all could make it. Bill made it by like 8 o'clock exactly. So I guess that's great. So, all right. Let's start with any announcements, Bill.
Just that I'm working very hard on releasing the next Chameleon Academy Journal. That's my digital magazine, and that'll be released on Saturday. And
okay.
So I'm having a grand old time putting that together.
You put it out there, Bill, so people will expect it. I hope you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is the best part of my of all the things I do. This is my favorite.
All right. Hello, all. Let's see. Podcast number 7 went live yesterday at 6:45. I don't know why I said it at 6:45 instead of 7, but just so everybody got it when they want. It's an awesome podcast. It's John from iPardalis. We had him on the live a couple weeks ago, but the podcast goes a lot deeper. And on the podcast, he announces his podcast, which Bill is already aware of because Bill is the shadow hand behind all these things.
Yes, I
talk
heard
about that as well. Bill and his trouble that he causes all of us and gets us into. So Bill will have to.
I'm just living my life,
and so he can hear about all the bad things we say about him. I cut most of it out, but that's the magic of editing. So, all right. So, Bill, this topic, what we do and don't like about reptile shows. So, yeah, I know it's one of those kind of best of type topics, but we didn't put a best of on today, so that's good. So, I was just at my daughter's. She got inducted into the Thespian Society for acting for her senior year. So she was very proud of that, and I'm very proud of her. So just so we put that out there, it's live. So all right, we need to get this one message down. So all right. So Bill, what is your most favorite thing about a reptile show? What type of thing? What is the number one thing that you think of as a reptile show as a great attribute?
Yeah, and this won't be a surprise to anybody, but it's our town square. It's the meeting spot for the reptile community where we see each other in face to face. We used to have all of that, but then the internet came. The internet's a great thing and has allowed so many breeders, small breeders, able to have the entire country as their customer base, and so it's allowed the small breeder to really be able to take hold, and that's what we need if we're going to be having a strong, established community. And so it's been incredible, but of course, we get isolated. Now, these live sessions are wonderful. I mean, all the interaction that you and I have had, if we ever saw each other in real life, it would just be like picking up like we just saw each other yesterday. And so this has been an incredible thing, but reptile shows, you get to see what's going on. Now, that's for people who have been in the community for long term. For people who are just getting into the community, it is the most incredible place to get exposed to everything that's out there. The species that you haven't seen before. Oh my goodness, what is that? And so it's like it really opens your eyes to everything that's going on in the community. And I did not take a nap, but boy,
Wow.
I would have liked to. I have been all over the place, and I don't know why.
Working on this roadmap, Bill, huh? Okay, you didn't take a nap. You do look bright and fresh and
I
like
know what the heck. I
I
don't
know,
know.
but it's only 5 o'clock at your place, so it's 8 o'clock.
That doesn't
here.
matter
It's
for me.
much later in the day.
When I
So
get up at 4 a.m, it's like by 12, I'm done.
mhm. Yeah, and I get up at later than that, and if I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm still awake. So that's the way I'd rather do. All right, Shibu Inu,
Meet Blaze, my Shiba
Blaze. All
Inu,
right.
who
Mhm.
doesn't like to be held.
I can tell somebody's not looking very happy there,
No,
Bill.
no, that's the Shiba Inu for you. A
All
cat
right.
in a dog's body.
So some of the things that I actually like from the reptile shows I've gone to, last it was 2 weeks ago. I was in Pennsylvania, Michigan. Um, the similar states next to my state. Um, I was in Pittsburgh, but they had a VIP pass, which let us in an hour early, and I thought that was no big deal, and that wouldn't be that big a deal, but I did it anyways, and it was great. You got to get in there an hour early, especially on the second day of a 2-day show, because you got to get in there an hour early and talk to all the vendors that you missed or you didn't have enough time with or what have you. And I think that all venues should have a VIP pass. Although some of these venues it's $5, $6 to get into, and having a VIP pass that's much more expensive probably would make people shy away. But I guess that's what you're trying to do. So, what do you think about the VIP type passes, or have you never
I,
done that?
I think it's great
Mhm.
because it's for the people who are serious. We all know, like when I go to a show, if I am looking for something, I am there waiting for the show to open. If I just want to hang out with people, I wait till the second day and I go in the afternoon,
Mhm.
or first day, late afternoon by the end of the show. So it depends on what you're going to a show for.
Mhm.
But if you're uh, the VIP gives you both of those. Not only do you get first crack at the animals, what animals are available, but you also get to talk to the vendors while they're fresh and they're ready to go and they're not totally beaten down by having been there all day. So VIP pass is a great idea.
Mhm. So yeah, I had never experienced that before, so that was really cool. It was very neat. Um, I would
And
encourage others to do it, but what were we gonna
Chris
say?
is asking how to start a reptile show. Well, I mean, I almost did.
Mhm,
You got to find a place that will accept the number of people you think you're going to draw in. You
mhm,
put down a deposit, and then they say, "All right, it's up to you now."
mhm,
And you just make sure that you have enough vendors that are going to come that you're going to be able to. I mean, you need to convince the vendors that you're going to bring in the people. So you have to have a marketing a plan that you can say, "Hey, vendors, this is what I'm going to do. So come to my show." And then once you have all of the vendor names, then you can do the marketing and saying these vendors are going to be here. So it's kind of like it's always, uh, making these backroom deals, and they're all the vendors won't come unless you get the people. The people won't come unless you know the vendors are there. So, yeah, it's a lot of when you're first starting off, it's it's kind of a dicey thing.
And realistically, there's not big money there unless you get really,
No,
really large. It's just about community and what have you. And you also have to make sure that the place that you're going to accepts pets. You got to have a place where they will accept at least in their in the ballrooms or whatever you use. And we know whether it's obviously if it's a what do you call it, fairground, they're allowed. Different animals are allowed there. But if you're using a ballroom or a hotel or what have you, it's got to be whether or not they allow those type of pets there. And then for your vendors, what is it going to be like? Where do they house their pets if you have a 2-day show overnight? Do they keep it in? Is there security? There's a lot of issues there. So talking to all kinds of different people over time. A lot of issues there, and you never can be sure. But making your first million at a reptile show is probably not a good plan. Any other thoughts about how to do a reptile show, Bill?
No, that's about it. I would have loved to have done it. I actually had I was going to do the first Chameleon Expo, and I had a deposit on the place and ready to get it going. And then I had a life change, and I ended up having to move out of the area and decided, okay, I got to
So,
do this.
not worried about profit, just worried about having one near them. So, I don't know about liability insurance. Bill, did you get any about that? Is there anything you need to
Well,
do?
there's going to be the venue will be able to help you with that.
Okay. So I would say that if you want one near you, you can start one in a VFW or a or something similar venue where you can have just 10 or 12 vendors and start it small and build it bigger. There's several by me that have done that. And there's not a profit, but there's also not a huge loss because the venue doesn't cost you that much.
Yeah,
Some
and Chris,
can be gotten for a little bit. Yeah.
I did an episode on Reptile Entrepreneur of how to start a reptile show with a promoter. And so you can go ahead and check out that episode.
All right. So we'll have to bring that up, and I'll have to listen to that one again. I don't remember it. So maybe I do. It's been a long time. These episodes don't seem to be coming so fast and furious, Bill, though, on the Reptile Entrepreneur.
No, I've been working on something else. Although the things I've been working on are going to make next season's Reptile Entrepreneur a whole lot very interesting. I'm doing a lot of things behind the scenes, working out things to that will help entrepreneurs.
Yes, the promise of the future.
Yes. Let's see, I gotta do everything that I'm talking about so I can speak from experience.
All right, there you go. So when's your reptile show going to happen?
That one's in the past. I don't think going forward is my life in my path right now.
Anything else, Bill, that you like about reptile shows? What's your favorite attributes? What makes them better for you?
For me at this stage, it can be networking, but I like meeting people, listeners to the Chameleon Academy. And I like it when I get to meet them before the show. They know that I'm going to do a live show, so they'll find me. And so right now at where I am in life, I enjoy meeting people, not just the vendors, which is what I would have before, but now it's just meeting listeners and people that got you. People that
that mythical bug is getting in there again, Bill.
No, I can show. I've got evidence. Oh, you can't see it.
It doesn't show up on camera.
There it is. There it is. Oh gosh. There.
I don't know, Bill. All right. What about variety of animals?
Well, I am definitely lucky being in California that we generally have a wide variety of animals. I know some people were complaining in Florida that it's become just a snake show. I don't know. I've never been to the Florida shows. That was just something I heard a little while ago. But I know in some areas the diversity can be lacking. But where I am, it's always been hugely diverse, and it's getting more diverse. We've got now jumping spiders and carnivorous plants coming into the shows. So I've seen that spoiled.
At most of the shows, there's jumping spiders, carnivorous plants. I've seen all kinds of stuff. Even fudge.
Even fudge.
I'm still eating the fudge from the Pittsburgh show. So,
but one thing I love about the bigger the shows, the more the community is growing. And is not an option for us. It's not a nice to have. It's a have to have. Our community has to grow or else we're dying. A community is dynamic. It's either growing or it's dying. And growth means greater influence as far as politics, as well as a larger customer base for exotic vets. And so there's vets out there that would love to work with reptiles, but they can't justify it because they're not going to be able to pay their bills on just reptiles. They got to be dog and cat. And so after 10 years of being a dog and cat vet, even if they love reptiles, okay, how do you switch now? But the more we get, as far as the bigger the community, the more people like that, the infrastructure can be in place, the more that we will be given attention to by national manufacturers to make products for us. And so we have to grow. And you know, you look at me, I keep talking about how do we establish a chameleon species? Well, you need numbers for that. You need numbers of people who are interested. And so I'm working with Kaluma O'Shaughnessy. I need to have, when I start producing babies, I need to have people who are interested in becoming not only first generation keepers, but also breeders of the first generation. And so I need the breeding base to grow with each generation. It has to grow, or else we're struggling. And if it's just me producing babies, you know, there may be people who love it, but if it's just me producing babies, if something happens to me, it's gone. And we've seen that happen so many times before. And how do we, the only way to be able to establish species is to have enough people as part of the community that a certain percentage of them want to work with this species. Certain percent of them want to work with carpet chameleons. Certain percentage of them want to work with Kaluma brevicorn. And that's, we need numbers. And so I think anything that's going to help us grow our community is a priority for us.
Great. And so another attribute that I was thinking that is important is having captive bred. You know, some of these people, you look at their different tables, and wow, the chat just went offline. Different tables, and you know that they can't have captive bred all those things on their table, or you know, or they're getting them from somebody else, or there's always that whole story where you get, I'm getting them from somebody else, and I got this from somebody else, and you're like, who is it? And they don't even know. So,
well, you haven't asked what we don't like about reptile shows yet.
Okay, all right, but I put it in the positive way. Captive bred, being able to know that they're captive bred, know that they're small batch breeders or anything like that. Those people who are there, and like I said, like you said, the community. You know, being able to go to and see these same people. Actually, there are people at the Pittsburgh show who were then at the Fremont show, which is 6 or 7 hours away. They were Secret Garden Geckos was there, and those are the people I got bugs from, the little black bugs that hang out in a little, not death beetles, or what they're called. I have a bowl of them I showed on one of the other lives. So it was really neat to see them there, and to see them so far away from home, and they recognize me and I recognize them, as much as you were saying you recognize people. And both you and I are both recognized at all these events. I've had a lot of people talk to me about, oh, Bill Strand, I know him. I'm like, you know, I should carry Bill Strand's card as well, because this is my co-host. You want to come on the podcast or the I guess the live. You're not the co-host necessarily for the podcast, but.
Well, we've got like Bonnie Pearson from Verdant Vivariums. I mean, she's an example. I mean, see, the reptile people become carnies. They just travel all around, and she goes up the coast and inland, different states. And so she has truck will travel. So you get a lot of those people that just go all over the place. Jeff Leverett, he goes up and down the coast of California.
So I don't know. Bill is one of the reasons why the community is growing. I'm just a new person on the scene, but Bill's been around for 10 years or more with this podcast. So
yeah, well,
how do you feel about that,
you
Bill?
You get to be the next generation.
I know, but I'm not younger. I'm only a few months younger than you, so that's not a good plan.
A few months count.
That's like my wife is 5 days younger than me. It's like that doesn't really count, except for those 5 days in October. All right. So anything else that you like particularly about reptile shows that are different than other reptile shows, or
Uh, yeah, I'd say that
mhm,
pretty much covers what I like about it. I think they're good
mhm,
for the community, and
mhm,
yeah.
mhm. So what don't you like about reptile shows, Bill? We'll get
Oh
onto the
boy.
negative here.
Oh boy. All right. Freaking
The
yeah.
bugs that
Unfortunately,
are present, the flying insects.
I got to figure out where all these mosquitoes are coming from.
Hmm.
Um, what don't I like about them? What I don't like about them is that they bring out the money side of reptiles, and I absolutely fully support and encourage, if you're working in the reptile community, if you are breeding, you need to be compensated for that, because if you're not compensated for that, you're not going to be doing it. Oh, I do it for the love of the animals. Oh,
Hmm.
that's crap. Yes, you may love the animals, but if you don't get enough compensation for all of the time and all the money you put into it, if you're stupid enough to keep doing it, your spouse is not. And so for anybody to have longevity in doing a breeding project or any sort of like cages or anything that you make, you need to be compensated for that. And that is fair and that is good. And those of you say, oh, you're just doing it for the money. Well, you're just holding on to your money because you love money. You know, it goes both ways here. But the problem is that when it opens up to people that are now saying, okay, how can I make money? Not how can I make money doing what I love, but how can I take advantage of these people and do the smallest amount possible to make money? You know, I'm a savvy business person. That's where you get the flippers. And that's where you get the people who just go to their importer and say, okay, just give me whatever you got. And they put a bunch of deli cups out. And so they're not caring about the animals. They're not caring about showing how to take care of the animals, and they're just doing what it takes to make the money. And so you see that. I mean, every time we go to the show and we see one cage filled with a bunch of veiled chameleons, you know, that person has no idea or doesn't care about reptiles. They just say, okay, this is an opportunity to make money. And so and I don't like that those people are accepted at shows. I am hoping, and I know that show promoters are starting to get better and better at saying, okay, you got to go. You can't do this. So I'm seeing that as a good direction. But having those people come out and be a representation of our community is one thing I really hate about shows.
Okay. So Stephanie Payne is here, late again as usual, but that's become her usual. So that's what we expect. So welcome, Steph. Um, see, this is a question here in the chat. What's an estimated ballpark on a breeding project? But it depends on the reptile. It depends on what kind of project you're talking about, how long you're investing, and I guess there's a lot. I mean, I don't know. Do you have a real answer for that, Bill, or just it depends?
I don't have an actual number to give you. I do know what it needs and and it does depend on species. If you're going to be breeding panther chameleons, then you're going to be spending more than if you decide to breed carpet chameleons. The initial investment, but you know what? It's not that ridiculous. Even if you look at it through a business perspective, uh, your you could purchase the amount of caging infrastructure you need by what you can sell the first clutch of, say, panther chameleons for. You take all that money, put it back into your business. I mean, this is what Jonathan Hill did. And he shows how successful it was and how sane it was, because he just started with a pair and then he took the money from that. Of course, you got to put money in to pay to feed the animals, and then you find out, wow, I put more in than I'm actually getting back from the chameleons. But that's over time, and you're doing it anyways because you got pet chameleon. And so But you started off with a pair, and then whatever he sold the babies for, that went back into infrastructure. And soon enough, he could get 2 pairs because he could support the raising of babies. And so that's the same way of doing it. You start building out your infrastructure for raising babies. That's the most important thing. If you don't do that, and if you just throw them all into a bin, that's what kills most breeding projects, is because the babies start they don't grow as fast. They start chewing on each other. Then you panic, you sell them quickly, and it's not a good experience. And so if you can start slow, then you're going to be able to grow slow as long as you're patient. See, it's really easy to get eggs. It's really easy to get babies. It's really hard to get to the 3-month part. So it's
And
really
also,
easy to get yourself in trouble.
you have to have a plan to sell them. You don't
Yeah.
ever want to produce babies that you don't have a plan to sell, and that has to start before you mate the chameleons or whatever, because you need to get going on that. And unless you plan to, like me, keep them forever, and unless they sell, but
Well,
you have to have a plan.
here's something. This is Eliza Ann is asking this question.
Mhm.
Eliza, you come to my live, you follow me, and so you know what's going on in my life. I am right now working to bring Kaluma O'Shaughnessy into the chameleon community. And part of me doing that is I have to make it so the next generation of breeders will be successful. It's not enough that I sell all the babies. I have to make sure that there's another generation of breeders that are successful. So I'm going to be creating educational content and podcasts and videos and little booklets that say not only how to take care of the species, but how to breed the species and how to be successful as a breeder of this species. So if you want to do something right now, carpet chameleons would be a great choice. If you want to wait 14, 16 months and slowly build up to it, just hang out with me and just see if Kaluma O'Shaughnessy is attractive to you. That could be your project, and you would have all of the support for the next, and you'd have over a year to get ready, because I don't have any babies yet.
And they are awesome looking chameleons.
Yes.
Bill.
Oh, and you want to help establish something that this is, you can be on the ground floor.
Mhm. There you go. Okay, so let's get back to reptile shows. Anything else you don't like?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I don't like, that's not necessarily, it's not a function of the reptile show, but it's a function of just the finances of it, is that the diversity at a reptile show often is reduced to the things that will make money. And like the chameleon world, that's panther chameleons. So you go to the reptile show right now, you see panther chameleons by breeders, you see veiled chameleons by the standard store that throws everything in, and then you see a smattering of wild caught, whatever is available. And so one thing I'd like to work on in the community, and you're going to see the podcast episode that comes out on Friday talks all about how to establish a species of chameleon, and not necessarily how to do it, but really the challenges. How come it hasn't happened yet? What are the challenges facing us? And because we've known how to breed these chameleons for decades, that's not the problem. Breeding chameleons is not the problem. Knowing how to do it's not the problem. It's what happens after we breed the chameleons. That's the problem. And so once again, this is not a function of the reptile show. It's not their fault. It just is, it becomes more apparent when you go to a reptile show and you realize how few species are captive bred. And so it makes me sad. But you know what? Gosh darn it, Sean, I'm going to do something about it. So
All right.
Sad.
All right. That's awesome. Let's hope you follow through. and don't get distracted by another project.
And Eliza and Chris are saying they'd be interested. Just hang out and just stick with the lives. Yeah, I mean, you're always there. I'm going to keep you guys along every step of the way. And so by time they're ready, you will know so much about these species. You'll be so comfortable with it. So this is a way to ease into becoming part of establishing a species. And I think it'll be fun.
And way too many ball pythons. I know it's true, but they have some of the coolest colors of ball python. They're all over the place. I got an orange one and a purple pink one and pied and what have you. We just need to get that into other snakes. So but yes, I agree. There's way too many ball pythons at most reptile shows, but that's getting less and less as I see from time to time. Let's see, what do we got here? A year from now.
Good. That works.
And interested in project.
Excellent.
And some in Michigan. What is the same in Michigan? Okay. Geckos are awesome though too, and easy to raise. And
do you think a great start to breeding is selling off of morph? Yeah, it is. The morph market is a great place to have to list your stuff. And in fact, I think it's becoming the main hub for selling things.
Yeah, and I think the head of morph market has really made some good changes there. I think
he's aggressively attacking it and aggressively growing the business, and so that's the sign that morph market is going somewhere. Whether you like the guy or not, it doesn't matter. He's actively investing into that business, and that's a sign that that's going to be a train that's going somewhere.
That's very true. All right. A Shamrock group. All right. Okay. So, Bill, any other thoughts on reptile shows? What irks you the most about them? I know you said
it's the people that they bring out. That you get to see all layers, all tiers of the community, from the most conscientious breeder into the slimiest just meat market flipper. And
I think the other thing that about reptile shows that bothers me is that impulse buying can be a real big deal. You can impulse buy, they're right there, you can grab them, and you don't have to have any setup or anything like that. Now, some reptiles, yeah, you could probably keep them in a limited container until you get the right stuff, but many of these reptiles need a lot of TLC.
Yeah, but that becomes a real problem when you have these lower life tier sellers that will sell to anybody. Yeah, it's easy to take care of. I was walking through a show long time ago, and I walked by this booth where some guy wanted to buy a panther chameleon, and then the guys were trying to sell him a female, and they were giving him this line: listen, you can keep them together, and when they have eggs, you will more than pay for the cost of the female and the male and make money. And he's sitting there listening to this, and his wife is there, and they're talking as though this is a real business event. This is not just a pet. This is an investment that will pay off. And you're just the slimiest sales job. And the thing is, if we get rid of those people and we fill the shows with the responsible breeders, then the impulse buying is going to come crashing to the end, because either the breeder's not going to sell to this person because they're not ready, or else they're going to sit down and talk to the person and give them the resources they need to be successful. And so I think allowing in the lower tiers is what's causing us the problem and creating these impulse buys.
Wait a minute, Bill. Big news. Apparently, Walmart's selling Lamborghinis. I gotta go. Maybe that's just a metaphor.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and you got the people. I guess one thing I do like about shows that really is a positive for the community is that if you want to maintain a certain price point, and it's this animal or something is just not moving at that price point, you can go to a show, discount it, and you don't, and it's like that discount doesn't count. It's not like people are going to see that, oh wow, you're trying to sell them for $600, but at the show you sold them for $300. That's it kind of disappears. That's a trick we used in product marketing all the time when I was in consumer electronics. We love these shows and these areas where the price disappears and you're not responsible for it.
That's cool. I have to think about that. I still don't want to sell them for any less because, like you said before, the respect that you give to an animal has a lot to do with the price. That's important.
But this is something that we breeders, I mean, especially someone like me who is now trying to establish a species, I have to have multiple bloodlines. And if I am not able to time it correctly, at least this species has a diapause and gives me a little modicum of control. But if I end up with a whole slew of them, well, I'm going to have to figure out how to bring it down to a maintainable level. And so there's always this, okay, what do I do now? And I'd love to hold everything for a year. I'd love to never sell anything. That's the truth of it.
I've tried to do that, Bill.
Yeah, and
I did with Quadicornis. I didn't sell it. I sold only a couple, but I regret it. So Two Turtle Tom finally decided to show up.
Oh my goodness! All right, now we can start.
We thought Stephanie Payne was late. Two Turtle Tom, he's almost at the end of the show. What the heck? Bill's been going crazy with these imaginary bugs and bug bites. I was a little bit harried getting here because my daughter got an award or got inducted into the Thespian Society at school. But and we've talked about positives and negatives about reptile shows. But Tom, you and I and Bill have all talked about these in the past. So it's nothing new. Let's see.
Howard's saying Bill is a small breeder. I find that I need to keep my first clutch so I can see what my pairing creates. I think F2 generation would be better to sell. That is absolutely correct, especially when you're working with Panther chameleons. You need to see what it creates. On something like O'Shaughnessy or Jackson's or things that don't have that kind of color, you don't need to do that. But yeah, with Panther chameleons, you're absolutely right. But I mean, once you figure out what you need to be able to handle 20 to 30 chameleons if you're going to be holding them all back.
All right. And that's big cages and long times. And if you individually raise them, they get bigger faster and they go pretty faster. And so individually raise them all.
But you know what? I mean, if you're doing what Howard's doing, you raise them all up. I mean, I think that's what Jonathan Hill does, is that once you see what you've got, you decide I'm going to keep these 2, these 4, whatever. The rest of them just go off like hotcakes because they're an adult captive hatch. So yeah, Howard, I think you're doing it right.
That's awesome. Okay. Talking crowdsourcing now. Okay. All right. Bill, anything else that you want to say about reptile shows as a whole?
Oh, it's interesting, the different dynamics of the shows. I know we keep talking about this, but on one hand, we keep talking about the internet keeps taking away from shows because and I think this is a challenge that we're all going to face. We love shows. We want to go to shows, but it's extremely difficult to be responsible at shows. And by difficult, I mean it takes work. You can choose to do it. But if, especially like you're doing chameleons, are you going to have them in deli cups? You're doing red-eyed crocodile stinks, deli cups. I mean, everything has this same dynamic. How much of an educator are you, and how much are you just trying to move meat? And you got to make that decision. As we but the thing is, the more responsible you get, the more educational you are, and the better you are preparing your customer, the more expensive it is. And it's very difficult competing with the person who's just at the corner, who just has a bunch of deli cups and will sell their animals for $200 less. And it gets to be a real pain in the butt when people come and they talk your ear off and they get all the information they need, and then they go buy the cheap one. I mean, that happens all the time. And so I think the biggest challenge of going to a reptile show as a responsible breeder is to maintain your responsibility as a herpetoculturist, but at the same time, acknowledging the business challenges. And I have a huge respect for the people who say, I am going to be educational in the way I present my animals. And that is my prime directive.
But you get what you pay for, which is an excellent comment, except for it's usually the second or third time that you realize that you got what you paid for. And people make a mistake, and that's costing an animal its life. So it's an unfortunate scenario. And
yeah,
I wish people would understand that. I wish we could get that into people's head, that this, that the $3 Lamborghini is not worth buying.
Yeah, and Eliza, and you're absolutely correct. And it's painful watching people make that decision, because they get this idea that, okay, it's a panther chameleon. Every place I get a panther chameleon, it's going to be the same. It's just like this Arcadia light. I'm looking for the best price, and I am clever when I find the lowest price. Well, it's not. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not the way with live animals, but they've got. I hate that they have to figure that out. They just assume that those of us saying no, buy the good one, we're just saying that because we want money or something like that. So Bill must be a tricky if he's talking about the price. I have had influences in the past, but I am part of the Star Wars generation.
You could be both, Bill. Most people don't want to admit it.
I don't know if there's dual citizenship, fine. Right. But if I have to, but it's Star Wars. That is, yeah. Eliza Ann. Yes, yes, you're right.
Whether old school or new school Klingon, because there were the Klingons of old are bad, and the Klingons of new are part of the team, and they're not the evil people. So it depends on what generation you're talking.
I don't know. I enjoyed the whales, but yeah, I'm not really.
You enjoyed the whales? That was like the worst Star Trek movie ever. Oh man, that was terrible.
Whoa, now
that was terrible, Bill. That was the worst.
These are going to get ugly on the show here. Okay,
wow.
Wrath of Khan, that was the best, I would say, but I love the whale.
Yeah, we agree on that.
All right, fine. We found common ground. But hey, you know what? You can have it. You can have all of it. I'll die on the Star Wars hill.
There you go, because we're going to agree on that hill. So in the risk of not going down that road, I think, Bill, we should probably wrap this one up, unless you got more to say.
Okay, but let's. I want to read what James is saying.
All right.
The last one. That's why I always stayed a hobbyist. One day I may try to breed, but just for fun. But I definitely look forward to getting one of your shamrocks. Something I'm going into before. Yes, actually, yes. This is
what
great.
we're talking about.
And yeah, I have no idea. I have to sell them at a price that will make it reasonable and profitable for the first generation breeders to sell them at. That's the biggest challenge. I have analyzed decades of trying to establish species, and I realize the point that everything falls apart is when the first generation breeders can't breed, can't make it profitable. And I don't mean wildly profitable, but just profitable enough. If they can't do that, if there isn't a customer base for that, then it fails. And so that's my my prime direct, one of my first priorities. That. And so it's like I'm not it's not in it for the money, but I got to make sure that it is a profitable species, or else it just dies. That's what happens. It just dies. And you can't, if you can sell it for enough a price to make it profitable, and then breeders get interested in it so they can sell it at that price, that's when we start getting real traction. And so that's the big thing I'm going to try to do.
Bill, how do we go from reptile shows to Star Wars versus Star Trek, and now we're into Spaceballs? What the heck happened here? How did we get this kid away from us?
I don't know. I think
I'm
going
reading
the direction of Spaceballs is
ignoring
probably a positive. But
oh man! All right, I think I'm getting a little slap happy, Bill. So we'll call it a night. Any
All
final
right.
comments from you?
I have not been to a Star Wars convention. I've been to comic book conventions, but not a Star Wars convention. So
I have neither. I've been to a Star Wars convention. But maybe someday I'll plan to go to them. I've got too many reptile shows to see.
And I would like to say to all the enlightened people in the audience, may the force be with you as well.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, Bill. All right. Good night, everyone.
Bye. Thank you for joining.
Yes, thanks everyone for putting up with us tonight.